Welcome back. Time for our GMC Sierra Tweet of the Night. Comes from Pro Football Focus. Joey Porter Jr., 20.6 coverage snaps per reception allowed this season. That is the first among cornerbacks, and it has been quite the season for the rookie corner. And there's an important thing I want to point out. That 13-game barrier, that plateau, if you will, 13 games in the NFL. When you're playing college football, you got 12 in the regular season, right? If you play in the bowl game, it's 13. If you play in your conference championship game before that bowl game, it's 14. If you play, let's say, in a playoff game before you get to the national championship round, you're going to play in 15 games that season. That's just in the college game. So when you hit 13 games in the pro level, that's a really significant point. That's a very significant milestone. Joey Porter Jr. just passed that. He talked about earlier in the week how he feels great physically, how he doesn't feel worn down, and he felt that the way the coaching staff handled him to get to that point meant a lot. The rookie wall is a thing. So to see Joey Porter doing this after 13 games and still having a lot left in the tank and not feeling worn down, I think that's a really good problem to have for the Steelers at this point. Yes, he didn't play a lot earlier in the season. But when you get to this point of the year, when you need your defense to be better, when you need your defense to be locked down, and you need your guys to have enough in the tank, especially your rookies, and you don't want them hitting the wall, this is why it's important to have them with a little bit left in their legs when you get to December going into January. 412-575-2600 is the number on the Borders and Borders hotline. We got Jim in Peters Township. Jim, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Yeah, the way I look at it, I hate to say it, but I predicted it last week. I had a feeling of it. The way it's going to happen, they're going to lose tomorrow. And here's the reason why I say they're going to lose, and they're going to put the knife in their back. The reason is twofold. Number one, their offense, Kenny, at least they had a chance with him in there. Mitch, you can count on him throwing an interception or two. If they go to the running game more like they should and be more balanced, they may have a better chance. But the coordinator wants to make a name for himself by throwing the pass. I feel Mitch will kind of want to force a couple in, and it'll be a close game, but they'll lose because of turnovers.
Jim, you made me smile my Grinch smile because you mentioned the run game. My chances for this team winning this game, or I should say my interpretation of this team's chances for winning this game, are going to be heavily tied to the run game. I find it real strange, really, really strange. Now I say strange because I'm kind of being facetious about it. But we saw the running game, I won't say it was abandoned in the past couple of games, but it hasn't been a factor. It hasn't been what it should be. It has not been the part of the offense that made it all click and made the quarterback's job a lot easier over that 4-game span. I think we need to see them get back to that. I think we need to see them continue to make that the foundation of what they're doing. And I will say this until I'm blue in the face. Mitch Trubisky, I understand the athletic profile. I understand he wants to be aggressive. But here's the thing that you really can't get around. The thing that can make you a lot more aggressive in the passing game down the field is the presence of your run game. Because if your run game is having some good effect early, now teams have to drop down in the box. Now they're trying to take that away, and now it opens up opportunities deep in the passing game. Those opportunities that George Pickens wants that he hasn't gotten. Those opportunities that Pat Freiermuth has gotten sparingly. Other than, that Cincinnati game, we haven't seen much of those. Those will become opportunities if your run game is working well and now the other team is focusing on it. Totally agree with you. I like their chances better if they run the ball the way they did previously before this 2-game losing streak. Robin and Tyrone, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Hi, Josh. I wanted to talk to you about Mason Rudolph.
Okay.
Now, Bob had Pony on the other day, and they were talking and saying that people were asking for Mason that one day, and then he said, well, he doesn't understand why when they were booing him and real critical about him at the training camp. He was really good. I was there. I watched him. So I wanted to know what you had to say.
Well, Robin, I find it ridiculously ironic that the guy who says people are asking for him also called him Mediocre Mason 2 years ago. If you can explain that, you're smarter than I am. This is the thing that I think we need to be honest with ourselves about. Go back to 2021 when Ben Roethlisberger was going through that last season, and we were seeing all of this happen, and we knew that end was coming. No one at the time was saying if this was it for Ben, they weren't saying, oh, we'd love to see him turn it over to Mason Rudolph. We'd love to see him pass the torch to Mason Rudolph. No one was saying that at the end of the 2021 season. No one was saying that in 2020 when Ben came back from an elbow injury, and it was, well, what about Mason Rudolph? That wasn't being said in 2020, and it was barely being said about what about Mason Rudolph in 2019 when he was the guy who had the job. Ended up losing it briefly because of an injury, because Earl Thomas almost knocked his face off against Baltimore. There's that. But then you had Mason Rudolph, and remember when Duck Hodges was a thing? Where was the talk about Mason Rudolph in 2019? This is why I hear people talk about Mason Rudolph now, and I'm sitting there going, where were you 2-3 years ago? Why wasn't he a topic of conversation then? But now all of a sudden, people are just starting to change their colors and change their stripes. I still can't figure out why. I think it's strange. Bob and Monaca, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Hey, Josh, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Bob?
Good, good. Hey, this new offensive coordinator that Pitt hired,
Yeah.
I think maybe the Steelers should have gotten in front of him. He looks like a real super-duper know-it-all.
Bob, be honest with yourself. If the Steelers hired an offensive coordinator from Western Carolina, you'd be running Mike Tomlin out on a rail, and people are already trying to do that before they hired the next one. Let's be honest with ourselves here. Let's not get crazy. Let's stop trying to rewrite history. Kate Bell's a great move for Pitt, by the way. I love this move. I love this move for Pitt, just like I love Penn State's offensive coordinator move for them. Both of these programs, both needed to get a little bit more creative with their offense. Kind of like the other one that plays at Acrisure Stadium. They got to get a lot more creative too. But I love both of these moves for these teams, specifically because for Pitt's case, Pitt, I think, can use an offense that needs to be balanced. And Kate Bell has an offense that not only racked up a lot of yards, it scored a lot of points, it ran the ball well, it threw the ball well. If you're going to help Nate Yarnell, you got a couple really good running backs. Let those guys pick up some big-time yardage. Shift them in, rotate them, do whatever you got to do. Let those guys get off and running, and then open up opportunities for Nate Yarnell in the passing game. And the best part about it is, if you got an offense that's balanced and clicking the way that one is capable of being, then you could have some pretty impressive results. But here's the thing. We tend to get caught up in, oh, you got to have this number of yards. You got to have this number of targets. No. Move the chains, get first downs, keep the ball, get into the end zone. That's what makes you a good offense. Not the number of yards you gain, not the number of touches this guy gets or number of targets this guy gets. Your ability to move the ball down the field by any means necessary. I don't care how you do it. Just do it consistently, do it well, and get in the end zone. That's what makes you a good offense. We got to take another break. We'll wrap up when we come back. Stick around.